We're on the cusp of spring. It's time to start dusting off the camping gear, finalizing the garden plans, and pondering, what if I could run a subnet router backwards? When you need to initiate a connection from a device that's running Tailscale to a device which isn't, a subnet router out of the box will work great. But what if you want to initiate a connection from a device that isn't running Tailscale into a device on your Tailnet? Uh, if I want my e-reader to be able to reach my self-hosted book library, if I want an ESP32 device to call out to a server on my Tailnet, how about allowing a truck full of network-aware sensors to supply telemetry back to a remote server? Anywhere that a device that doesn't or can't run Tailscale needs to initiate connections to something that does. My name is Jay. I'm a solutions engineer here at Tailscale, and this is where we'll start our series of short videos on more advanced uses of Tailscale subnet routers. In its default configuration, a Tailscale subnet router uses SourceNet or SNAT to handle connections. The non-Tailscale devices only see traffic between themselves and the subnet router node. The advantage is that you don't have to think about return path routing. The disadvantage is that the connection is not really symmetrical and the server doesn't see the originating IP address of the device initiating the connection. By turning off SNAT, the server now knows the Tailscale IP address of the initiating computer, and in fact can initiate a new connection backwards through the subnet router, as long as the Tailscale policies allow for it. But since these machines aren't running Tailscale, we need a way of telling them how to reach the Tailnet. This is generally done either at the OS level for an individual device by adding a static route, or at the network level through DHCP or a VPC configuration in the case of cloud resources. The general information you'll need for all of these use cases is the LAN IP of the subnet router node and the CIDR of the local network it's on, as well as the CIDR for your Tailnet, which is always going to be 100.64.0.0/10. On the DHCP server for your local network, you can generally add a static route where the remote network would be the Tailnet CIDR, and the next hop or the router for that network is going to be the LAN IP of your subnet router. For this demonstration, I have a VPC with a couple of VMs running in it. One of them is running Tailscale and the other isn't. I'll start by logging into my Tailscale node and turning on IP forwarding so I can use it as a router. Then I can advertise the route to the local VPC network /24 here. Once I do that, you can see I can reach a service on the machine that's not running Tailscale by routing through that node. But first I have to accept routes, which is not the default behavior on Linux, but it is on by default for other platforms. Now I can hit the web server running on the private machine. I'll pull up a browser here, and you can see the web page I've hosted there. Many people are going to be familiar with how to use a subnet router like this. In its default state, it's very useful for reaching devices which don't or can't run Tailscale. But next, I'll log back into the subnet router and disable SourceNet. I'll hop over to the private machine and use the built-in Linux tools to set a static route to the Tailnet CIDR with the next hop of the subnet router node. This is the LAN IP address of the subnet router node. Once I've done this, I can use a console browser to load a service that's running on a remote node on my Tailnet. Hopefully, this is something that you can find useful in your own networks. In this example, I used an OS level command to set that return path route back through the subnet router node. As I mentioned, many types of routers will allow you to set this value through DHCP for all of the devices on your network, and many cloud providers will have a way of setting static routes in the VPC settings. This is a hint at how you can start using subnet routers in new ways. And I'll be back soon to talk about more ways that you can make Tailscale fit into your networking requirements. I'm Jay from Tailscale. Have fun with your networks.